How do you mentally go from one extreme to the next?
Survival mode.
Yeah.
I can't even give an anecdote. I
Yeah.
was just surviving.
You had some harsh critics, though, initially before Idol.
Pretty much all of the responses were the same. It was, we love your voice, you just don't have the look. You take that as you're ugly.
The winner of Australian Idol 2003 is Guy Sebastian.
And the aria goes to Guy Sebastian.
The voice coach, Guy Sebastian.
Guy Sebastian has become one of Australia's most iconic voices.
These battle scars don't look like they're fading.
Do they give you the heads up on who's coming?
They will really only interject when it's sensitive. The voice, the unique thing about it is you can't see them.
Yes.
So you'll think you're listening to a Jamaican reggae artist,
Yeah.
but the beauty of it is you turn around and it's this little nerdy office girl. There's like 16 hour days.
Really?
There's blind auditions are exhausting.
And you've been in the music industry for a long period of time and entertainment. How have you found that?
You're on top of the world.
Yeah.
Moments later, you're alone in your hotel room. People come up to me and they say, I voted for you. What they don't understand is how emotional that makes me still to this day. We so often neglect the community that we have around us that love us, and we spend more energy on the people that hate us.
What happened on Idol? Hi, Sebastian. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks
We
for
were
having me.
just talking about questions in the sense of you sat down and said, I like to talk, and I'm like, that's good because you've come on my podcast. And then we were talking about sending questions before, which you did not ask for.
No.
And I
I'm
said,
not a fan of that.
yeah, I said, I'm not a fan either. More so if I get interviewed. And I was telling you that actually not many people ask for the questions before, and a lot of people who listen assume that people have asked, but they really don't.
Yeah, look, I would say it may be because, something I really learned, especially in the TV world
Yeah.
or in any environment where you've got to think on your feet and you have to make sure your brain matches your
Yes,
mouth and
yes.
that what you're actually thinking comes out in an understandable way.
Yeah.
I realized how much of a gift that was. And that not everybody has that gift. For example, on The Voice, like if I'm on that coaching panel, I will realize that there's people that are just so, their brain and their mouth are just so connected.
Really?
And then there's others who are really intelligent people and everything that's happening upstairs is so thought out and articulate up there. But then by the time it's coming out, it's they don't have that gift and it's a real struggle. And so, I don't know, I think a lot of people take it for granted that they can actually say their thoughts in a clear,
Yes.
understandable way.
Absolutely. On those shows like The Voice, as a judge, do you know, do they give you the heads up on who's coming? Like this person's pretty good. You're going to turn around.
Not on The Voice so much, but on the X Factor is a different proposal
Yeah.
because it's a different sort of show. Whereas The Voice, the unique thing about it is you can't see them.
Yes.
So it would be very, it wouldn't be authentic for us to be told, oh, this is a Jamaican,
Yeah.
reggae artist. I think sometimes you're sort of almost giving it away and taking a great asset of the show away, because sometimes you'll think you're listening to a Jamaican reggae artist,
Yeah.
but the beauty of it is you turn around and it's this little nerdy office girl
Yes.
that loves music and grew up on reggae music.
Yeah.
And so I think with The Voice, they will really only interject when it's sensitive. So it might be something that is surrounded, something that has to do with like mental health, or something that has to do with the, it's a sensitive segment where, this person, we've got to be sensitive to this particular thing because
Yeah.
they've been through this trauma or they've been through,
Yeah.
then they'll say, avoid saying this or avoid,
Yeah.
we might have someone who's disabled or someone who, has something that doesn't want talked about, for example. Like there might be a
Yes.
disability. They don't want us, if they've requested, I don't want this talked about, they don't want us on the panel in front of a live audience or, going, oh, I can see that, you've got this like
Yes.
inability to,
I get you.
So it's only ever in those moments.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly to protect us and the person
Of
who's on
course.
stage.
Because that's interesting, because I will say I have thought at times, you know how like they sometimes do this, that they do the backstory sometimes of a person and say we'll make up a name like Rachel.
Yeah.
And Rachel's father died 3 weeks ago and now she's come, it's quite emotional. And then I always have wondered, do they say like, Guy, Rachel's coming on, it's a super amazing story, turn around for her? I've always said because I reckon people might think that because it seems so seamless. Like, oh my God, they turned around and do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I think it's because I get why people think that sometimes because sometimes the questions may be almost like,
yes,
that's
like
so
you knew.
direct. How did you know to ask that?
Totally.
But a lot of the time, so the show's it's not live, right?
Yeah.
So we're so often once we get to an end of a segment and the live audience are privy to this because we'll be like, oh, we're just going to ask that question in a clearer way.
Yes.
So sometimes they might just start talking about something and they just almost will go on a tangent, but on TV, there's no relevance to it. Like it's like, how do we just, because they've got to edit, right? So in their mind, they're going, they've just talked about this boring thing.
Yeah.
But it was intertwined with what we actually want.
Yeah.
So, but nothing prompted that. So the producer might come in at the end of a little like segment and say, hey, we don't really have a clean like take of getting into that. So I watching it back, I would assume, people would wonder, how do they know to ask that? But it's mainly because of
it's
stuff
not dissimilar
like that.
to podcasting sometimes as well, where we have to do like, or something happens and the question gets cut off, or we're editing bits out. Not a lot, but sometimes if it waffles and like you said, it's not interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, you'll change it to be more exciting for the listener, but no words are shuffled or anything like that.
No,
but it's the same. It sounds very similar to what
you're just giving
it's done
context,
in TV. Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's an editing nightmare because like that's why we wear the same clothes because they don't know the order necessarily of how they're going to air this. We're doing 4 or 5 days. There's like 15, 16 hour days.
Yeah.
And
really?
there's long days. Those blind auditions are exhausting.
Really?
Exhausting.
Why do they do them so long?
Oh, probably money. I don't know. Like probably budget because it's like
what time to what time?
We'll start. I don't know. I might get there at 7 or something. 6:30.
And you have to get makeup and all that done.
Then we
before.
get makeup, and all that sort of stuff. And then they've got like maybe 2 or 3 main. I think it's 2. Yeah, 2 main blocks, and they're split into 2. So it's like four big segments, but they're like 5 hours each or something like that. As in, sorry, they're like 5-hour halves or whatever. So it goes for ages, and it's more just being mentally on for that long, as you would know, like doing podcasts.
How do you do that though? How do you keep your energy up and mentally, are able to be mentally on for those things? Because you go by the end, I don't know.
Yeah, food, coffee. I don't know.
Do you meditate or anything?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not in any sort of traditional meditation. No, I don't do anything that's interesting. No.
Yeah. No, I wondered because it's good for the mental, to give you more mental clarity before you do these kind of things, and it also helps sometimes if you're tired or anything like that. So I just wondered.
I'm just good at knowing when I'm a bit useless. So I'll know when I need to just step out, have a little break. To be honest, often I just say I need the toilet, and I don't actually need the toilet.
Yeah.
And I'll just go in there, lock the cubicle, and just sit down and just breathe for a little while. And I guess that's meditating. It's just not like, people, when they think of meditation, they see you on the cliff at a beach and you've got your fingers like namaste. They don't visualize like what I'm saying, which is Guy Sebastian in a cubicle toilet just going.
Not as glamorous.
It's not the best place to breathe either, really. You don't want to take, depending on who was there before.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not the best meditation space, but it's this weird thing I learned early on in Idol. And it's a habit I think that's stuck around. I did it today. Like today, I got off the plane and everyone was lovely. But if I'm just standing there at baggage claim, like then like people will come over. And once it starts, then I'm just taking selfie and I feel awkward or whatever.
It's
and then
too much also sometimes, don't you feel?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I've got a really good. Like I've got a long patience. Like I've got a really good, like big tolerance for patience and with people. I love people, but you can't always be on.
Yeah, of course.
And so I just go to the toilet. Like I'll get off a plane, I'll just go to the toilet. I don't need to go, but I just that is a habit that has stemmed from Idol. So when I was on Idol, because I was so.
What happened on Idol?
I was a lot more shy back then. I hated the cameras. Like I always felt like I didn't belong on TV. Like I wasn't. I'm not a camera person. What am I going to say? Like it's a bit awkward. So, but back then it wasn't like now. Back then we lived in a house. It was like Big Brother. So there was always cameras. Like. And I hated it. I felt so anxious. And so I just knew they follow you everywhere, but they don't follow you to the toilet. So I would just go and sit in the toilet because I felt so anxious about the cameras that.
That's so interesting.
So even now, I'll be like, I know no one can follow me. That is a sacred place that no one follows you to the toilet. So
talking about the fans, I mean, I know with anyone, especially someone like yourself who, we'll talk about your journey into music, who has really come from, it's not like, it kind of, I hate the word overnight success because yes, you went on Idol and then everyone knew you, but you were doing your stuff for a while before then, It wasn't like, oh, I'll just try it. I've never sung a song in my life kind of thing. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same way as like people would say in my world of personal development, oh, Mel Robbins, she's just blown up. She's an overnight success. Like, no, she isn't. She's been doing it for like years. It's just of her now, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's that not a dissimilar thing. But as amazing as the fans are, because that's who buys all of the music and supports you, are there times, like you just mentioned, where, I don't know, maybe something's gone wrong in your life, which is natural, or, you didn't sleep well, and you just don't feel like having a selfie, or you just really want to get to A to B. And how do you manage that?
I think, and whenever I speak about anything, I never speak about it as though this is a blanket advice for others to follow, because something like that is very personal. I mean, if you read some of Robbie Williams' recent posts, he's been really articulate about his feelings around it all, and it's a really difficult thing to talk about as a public person, because
you don't want to seem ungrateful, because it's not like that.
And you can tell in Robbie's posts as well is any time you whinge or say anything where you're trying to give context, people are like, mate, they put you up there, so like, how dare you not, give them the time? Like, don't complain about being a public person, being famous. They put you on that pedestal, and you live this rich, famous life, and now you're complaining. So you always know in the back of your mind, it's just not a battle you're going to win, however you articulate it. So I don't think there's any real blanket advice or rules that I can say. But for me personally, I've come to that conclusion that I can't look externally about those. Like I can't keep my focus on the actions of other people in a day, because that ranges. It ranges from wanker to, oh my God, I love you. I've been in your corner. I voted for you. I just love you. My kids adore you. Oh my gosh. Oh, that new song is beautiful. Wanker. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can go past a few different people and you'll get, it's literally, you couldn't get more opposite ends of the scale, where people are just like, oh, I hate you, can't stand you. Your music
people
sucks.
Actually say that to you?
Oh, I mean, depending where you look. I don't really look in places anymore like that. Like it's, the online landscape is always obviously,
but not on the street.
Like Twitter, not on the street. It was bad though when I first started. Yeah, absolutely. It was horrendous.
Randoms would say that.
randoms. And
What
it's,
did they say?
Oh,
my
but-
God, and when you first start, when your self-esteem is probably the lowest.
and when I was really naive,
Yeah.
very like sheltered, only surrounded by, like I grew up in, there was 4 boys in our family. So I played a lot of sport and stuff. So I was always just surrounded by champions who champion you.
Yeah.
And like you got each other's back. And then suddenly I'm living alone in Sydney. And I just decided to move way out to a suburb called Palm Beach. I bought a dog.
Yeah.
I thought I'd just like write music out there, but the public thing I wasn't down with. I was like, I'm not doing this. Like people just abuse you. But that was it was
But
a different
why?
time because of what you were alluding to before. You know,
Yeah.
I think a big thing is the overnight success element
Yeah.
of it. And early on, I'd get pretty defensive because, as you almost did in the question, you
Yeah.
said, "No, I'm not." And it's not that
Yeah.
you hadn't been doing it for years, and because overnight success can be translated to like, "Oh, you didn't really deserve this. You haven't done the hard yards," and I would take that on a little bit back then, definitely because back then I would think more from an insecure place and from a place of trying to defend myself. And it's like, yeah, I know I was on Idol, but like, I mean, I've been touring for years. I did like, I can engineer. I'm a songwriter. Like you try and defend yourself from a place of insecurity instead of actually just trying to look at what people mean and then trying to actually understand why do we give credit where it's due? Why do we give credit to that person that slogged it out at the bar and eaten crap their whole like for a long time? It's because it's art. Like it's pure. There is art is way beyond just ability. It's about a story, and because I can tell you now, like if we look at it just on on someone's voice, there'd be some incredible artists out there. That, I mean, Bob Dylan, he's not getting a chair turn for his voice, is he? That's just the honest truth.
Yeah.
Like if no one knew who this guy is, they would just see a rough-edged guy just singing a cover of something on The Voice. He wouldn't get so we would miss out on this incredibly culture-changing artist once in a lifetime. Because of just one element. And so art is so much more than just one element. People love the story. They love, I just went and saw MJ, the musical, for example, and my kids, my kids are musical, my youngest especially, and he came away from it. And then I've now showed him the movie of it's called The Jackson 5, An American Dream. It's so hard to find. I could only find it on YouTube. You cannot buy it.
Really?
Cannot see it anyway. So it's a 2-part, it's really long, 2-part like movie. It's got Angela Bassett. Like it's amazing.
Really?
It's incredible.
How funny.
And so I'm watching that and my son is he's so intrigued by the story behind Michael and his
That
childhood.
was a
And
full-on story.
well, when you know the story and then you hear him singing, "Have you seen my childhood?" It means so much more, right? So
It's just a tragic.
yeah,
tragic.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
and whoever it is, like you watch the Elton movie, or
Yeah.
you know,
I wanted to ask you actually about, have you watched the Avicii documentary?
I've watched parts of it. I don't think I've seen the whole
God,
thing.
it's good.
I've watched most of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've finished it, but it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's
heartbreaking.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, Jules was watching it, so that's how I've seen.
You got to
most of
watch it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a tortured soul. The
tortured
parts
soul.
that I was watching was mainly just around
He seemed like such
the
a good
travel
guy.
schedule, around all the festivals he had to do, and he was just trying to keep up. And
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because with Avicii, from what I could tell, and I watched it 3 times because everyone in my family wanted to watch it on separate occasions whilst I was there. So I feel like I know it quite well. But with him, he seemed like the nicest guy. He's like an only child, had the most beautiful parents, was really good at making music. Like, one of those people who was like next level.
oh, he's
like,
a purist.
Yeah,
Purist,
and this like would be at uni with his mate, and they made all this music. And fast forward, the biggest artists in the world want to work with him, but he seemed like quite an introvert. And then he gets put on a stage. He's suddenly a heartthrob, like just things that I don't know that he ever really wanted. It seemed like that in the movie, right? And he was doing the thing for a long period of time, but as you said, like a tortured soul. And I wonder, it made me think when I knew I was having you on, like, you know, obviously you're very different to him, but the schedule was so full on. He seemed exhausted. Like, does that happen after a while? Like that you're out there performing, there's such a high rush of dopamine. The dopamine is, you know, coming down in massive dumps, you know, so then you're depleted. And then you have to go and do something else and something else and something else. Like that must be so hard.
Yeah, I think you nail that by talking about it as extremes,
Yeah.
because it is. It's dopamine hit. It's the absolute. You're on top of the world.
Yeah.
And moments later, you're alone in your hotel room in a town that you don't know, the time zone's different, so you can't call home, and you feel alone, and everything's so quiet, and those people have all gone home with people that actually love them and know them, and if you it's different for everybody, right? So there's the highs and lows, of course, and the difference between those are so extreme. I mean, I look at moments in my own life where I had an ex-manager who you know was arrested for fraud, and you know I had to do a court case, and I was in the witness box for a very long time. It felt like forever, and it was a horrendously lonely, weird place to be, full of my like anxiousness was up here. It was just a world I did not understand and felt so out of place, scared.
And the media would have been watching you like a hawk.
Horrendous during that time, and they'll say things that are alleged or whatever. Just
alleged? We use the word alleged, so that's okay.
Yeah, well,
know?
I mean, but you realise that lawyers have one job to do. You're the victim.
Yeah.
So how do we make that victim look as least a victim as possible? We've got to make them look like an animal or like an awful person, or that's their goal is to make you look like you're lying or that you're just a bad person. That's so you're walking into that world. But I'm going from that where it's like that was right smack bang in the middle of the biggest tour I've ever done.
Really?
Ever. My last arena tour, I thought I wouldn't even sell out like one Margaret Court or one ICC because they're big arenas, and I ended up breaking records in both those venues. Like
Did you?
5 sold out at Margaret Courts, 5 sold out ICCs. So
it's amazing.
I should be feeling on top of the world, but in fact I weighed 67.5 kilos, which is
nothing.
Almost 10 kilos less than what I normally weigh. I was rake thin. I was like not sleeping. I had black eyes underneath. I was in a terrible place. Going from the witness box, literally jumping on. I had to, because it was during the trial, I had to charter a plane to get to my sound check on time, to do a meet and greet sound check, and then start the first song of an arena show. Fly back, like give evidence the next day. Like so
How do
that's
you mentally go from one extreme to the next?
Survival mode.
Yeah.
I can't even give an anecdote.
Yeah.
I was just surviving, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what.
There must have been a lot of adrenaline pumping through you. That's probably why you lost a lot of weight as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I just couldn't eat. I couldn't stomach food at
Yeah.
the time. But it was traumatic on the low side of this being, I guess the betrayal and everything else I was feeling through this very close person in my life, sitting in a witness box. But then I'm at a show doing what I love, having people sing back songs, fans meeting me, filling me with like love. And so if I didn't have like almost the extreme high of that and I just had the low, I think that's what pulled me out of the low and it restored balance to me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always restore balance. So in the case of Avicii, who you mentioned, he's another individual who it's not necessarily what he wants. And so the world is screaming at you saying, well, this is what success looks like.
Yeah.
And I've been I was on a balcony with one of the biggest artists in the world, and he came to me and said something about I've broken records in every country except for this. You've got this record in this country. I didn't even know I had this record. I swear to God, had no idea. I thought I would have thought it's definitely been trumped by now. It's been ages, but it was for fastest selling album of all time in a week or whatever.
Wow.
And this artist was saying, and I've got it in this. He was very aware. So that's what his thing is. That's what makes him tick. That's what makes him strive. Whereas that would just make me feel like a failure. Like if I operated that way. So numbers are this artist thing. And that's what gives him, it lights a fire up him to keep going and to keep writing that next hit. This guy's had so many hits, it's unbelievable. But no, I haven't conquered that yet. Whereas for me, if I thought like that, it would just, everything would be a massive disappointment, first of all, because I'm not going to break that record in every country. But I think...
But that's so external as well.
It's very external.
It's like happiness comes, or I've made it. Like you said, when I've got these numbers, numbers, from a podcast perspective, I saw a beautiful clip Stephen Bartlett from Diary of a CEO did. He obviously has one of the biggest podcasts in the world. And he said, I swear on my life, when I first started doing this podcast, I thought, I am getting so much joy out of it. Even if it does shit, I'm still just going to do it because I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that charged his success because he just loved what he did and he loved the interactions with the people. And I don't know, I feel that you're not dissimilar. Like you, it's your story, but you could tell me if you're just going to give away music because you didn't do well, which isn't the story. Yeah. But, it seems like for you, there's a lot more inside that charges you rather than just the external.
Well, I think it's if you aren't as affected by the external, and I'm not saying not at all. There's not If you woke up and 2 people listened to this, you'd go,
that's enough.
You'd go, oh, that sucks, right?
Yeah.
That's just called being human.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't make you give up, and that, like Stephen Bartlett, that it's a protective measure by understanding where your purpose lies. And so it's one thing I will tell a lot of aspiring artists or people in any field is that's the biggest thing that I had to realize really early on, is that my purpose is unaffected by the external. So what I mean by that is, if I write a song and I know that it will speak to somebody, it doesn't mean that that song has failed if it's spoken to the right people, but not the masses. And so if my success is only rooted in reaching the masses and having as big streams as so-and-so and so-and-so, I would deem that piece of art I've released as a failure, because I've already predetermined what defines that as a success. Whereas if I know that there's a higher purpose to that, that's beyond numbers and beyond, awards and accolades, then I would deem that as a successful venture that I took on for that time. And so I hear so often people talk about what success means to them, and it's very, very often a physical, tangible reward. It's very often, I'll be happy as an actor when I win an Oscar, or I'll be happy when as a songwriter, I'll be happy when I get my first Grammy. And so they've already put a ceiling or actually just put a starting line of what success looks like. And so anything under that means if I get to the end of my life and my career and I haven't ticked that off, it was a failure. And I remember this one time I was at my son's like end of year, whatever they're called, like a little performance night. And
soiree.
And so all the parents,
a lot of them.
Yes, all the parents are there.
Everyone who does sings or does an instrument. Yes.
Yeah, and there was a girl singing, very good, really great singer, and
how old was your son?
He
the
was
time?
in year 5.
Yeah.
She was in year 6. The girl who sung was in year 6, so moving on to high school the next year, and she sung brilliant, really great singer. And I actually think she's gone on to do some really good things.
Yeah.
But at that time, I remember there was family all around her, and there was a whether it was an uncle or someone saw me there and said, "Oh, guy, superstar. She's a superstar. I don't care what it costs. I want you to teach her. I want you to be a teacher." And it was almost like this, like grandiose kind of like, look what I don't care how much money it is. I will pay. Like, she's a superstar. Like, she is going places. She's a superstar. Year 6, right? Saying in front of her. And I think as I've gotten older, I've become a lot more like, I'm not that scared to say things anymore.
No.
So I was just like, oh mate, that's she's not a superstar. And then the whole little family circle just went quiet.
Yeah.
Like waiting for what's next, because
Yeah.
there better be a what's next.
Yeah.
And I just let it sit for a second. I just went, it's not a superstar. And I left it for about that long. And then I said, she's a great singer though, fantastic singer. But you've just said, oh, she's going to be huge. She's going to be famous. She's going to be the next, I can't remember what artist he said. She's going to be the next blah, blah, blah.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Taylor Swift. I said, so she has heard all of that stuff, and you've just basically defined what success looks like for this girl. And she's only she's in the throes of loving it. She's in the throes of being in her bedroom and listening to that voice back and learning certain tricks and learning things and loving the art form. But amongst your family and the people she loves the most, she would feel like, if I'm not the next Taylor Swift, if I'm not a superstar, if I'm not this, anything else I do is a failure. But what if the thing that she's destined for is to have the residency at the restaurant down the road, and that becomes a thing for her? And that's like, what if her gift ends up there, or what if it ends up singing at weddings? So instead of being at a wedding, smiling, singing, "You're still the one I run to," as the bride's coming down the aisle, and feeling great about the fact that she's contributing to the most important day in someone's life, she's sitting there going, "Oh, still a wedding singer. I'm just a wedding singer." And that becomes because at a young age you're told, like, you're a superstar, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. And I just don't think it's up to anyone else to define the purpose of someone's passion.
I think that's absolutely such great wisdom. I wonder for you, when you were young, how your parents brought you up, and, you know, especially being the amazing singer you are, like how they were able to allow you to flourish in that area.
Well, I mean, it's a different time, right, and different culture. So
you grew up in Adelaide, but initially you were...
I was born in Malaysia.
Yes.
How
How long were you in Malaysia for?
Not about 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was 6.5 when I came, maybe close to 7. It was in 1988 that we came to Australia, which was bicentennial year. I remember getting the coin. I found it the other day.
I got that as well at school.
Yeah. Actually, no, my brother had it. He had my bicentennial coin. I was stoked. And then, and so, I came when I was 6. I lived in Melbourne here. I lived in Melbourne for a couple of years, went to Lilydale West Primary School. My dad, he was a geologist. And so he worked for 4 weeks away, 4 weeks back, kind of just fly in, fly out. Mum had 4 boys to raise. There was some little stints where he got so tired of being on oil rigs and hated being offshore in the middle of an ocean, circled by sharks eating all the... He felt like he was on Alcatraz at times, and experienced a lot of different kind of racial things, My dad's an amazing man. And anyway, so I moved to Adelaide, I think, like when I was 10 or something. So grew up in Adelaide, and then Sydney for the last 20 years. Adelaide was awesome, but just...
Would they be racist in Adelaide, or they're all right?
I wouldn't say so, no.
Okay.
No, I would say... I mean, like I've got color. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like a white person.
Yeah.
I'm not a dark black person. I've got a mix of so many different
Yes.
things. My dad's quite dark skinned. My mum's from India, but she's white with blue eyes. So
That's
it's
so
like
interesting.
my mum's got some Portuguese and English. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out soon. I've just done a DNA thing, but my dad's definitely like he's got dark skin, and I'm somewhere in the middle. And I do, of course, get asked about racism. That's
Yeah.
almost a whole podcast episode in
Yeah.
itself, because my experiences are very much more a balanced one than brushing with wide brush strokes. Like I think if I'm overseas, someone will say, "Oh, I heard, yeah, Australia's, that's a really racist place, right?" And I'm like, "Well, what?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't put that label on it as a whole.
Yeah.
I think anywhere you go, there's going to be racist people, or it's just humans. Like anywhere you go where there's a whole
Yeah.
lot of humans, there's some shit ones and there's some good
Absolutely.
ones. And so, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really experience
That's
anything
great.
that wasn't that made me believe that culturally there was necessarily a problem from my experience.
Yeah.
I was always able to go, well, yeah, that's a terrible person. And it happened. Like, I got called heaps of stuff, heaps of racist stuff. But I would never think of it as a stain on everyone, because I was
Yes.
loved by so many other people that
Yeah.
were Aussies. And
Yeah.
and I always think to myself as well, it's like, I was on Idol with as quintessential as you can get Aussie, sheep shearing country boy Shannon Knoll with the
my
Southern Cross
God.
tattooed on his chest. And I won.
Does he have a Southern Cross tattoo?
Yeah, he's
oh my
super
God, he's like the
Aussie.
ultimate Aussie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that's not me dismissing racism.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a pretty bleak way to
Yes.
walk through life, assuming there's these like wide brushstrokes on societies or a country or a state or a city,
Yeah.
because it's almost a preset
Yes.
thing, and you can react to that
Totally,
predetermination in the morning if you wake up going, "Oh,
that's your thought
my
pattern.
environment is racist."
Yeah.
I think you've always got to remember that they're individuals.
Yes.
And so yeah, I think back. Sorry, this
Yeah.
is the longest arc I've taken. But yeah, you were asking about my parents and,
Yeah, and
what.
Music.
Yeah,
fostered
as
it.
far as how they fostered that.
Yeah.
Well, just it was a different time. So my dad, as I said, my mum was just surviving, trying to raise 4 boys. My mum had a tragic life, tragic childhood, really tough childhood.
Why?
She was orphaned and just a really tough life. And then my dad was studying over there. So I think for them, it wasn't necessarily about fostering anything. They were just trying
to
their
get
best
through.
to get through and
Absolutely.
parent.
Yeah.
They didn't not believe in my dreams. They very much believed in my dreams, but they were just being loving, kind parents going, "Are you sure you want to quit uni? Like, you worked so hard." I studied medical radiation at uni, and I sat with my parents and I was like, "I need to pursue this. Like, it's my dream. Like, all I think about is music. I wake up." But I think more so they could see how depressed I was getting on the bus. I was in my placement, doing placement at Royal Adelaide Hospital. Did radiotherapy, and they could just see that there was this big dream that I had that I was just having to ignore and follow this other path. So I think part of them were protective by saying, just, it's really hard in the music industry. They're probably also seeing this like kind of chubby Afro-haired kid going, "That's not what pop stars look like." Like, I can't say that to my kid.
Yeah.
I don't know. They probably weren't thinking that.
Yeah.
They love me, but yeah, I think
You had some harsh critics, though, initially before Idol,
Yeah.
with people saying you're amazing, but you don't look the part.
Yeah. So that was just before Idol. So I had that conversation that I just mentioned, which was, I'm going to leave uni. And then I had a little, like, very simple bedroom, little home studio, this little old Akai sampler, and I made some demos.
Yeah.
had written a couple of songs. I won this like songwriting competition where I won a home theatre.
Oh, amazing.
I was like, oh my God, I've won an
That's
Akai
massive
home theatre, like this
speakers,
massive,
chunky,
like, I can't remember,
Yeah.
Sansui or something. And so I was like, oh, there's something in this. So I've recorded this demo. I did a like Craig David, I produced this little Craig David 2-step version of Lionel Richie's Hello.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, I see, hello, is it me you're looking for? 'Cause and I wonder what you do. So it's like this dance, like 2-step, artful Dodger Craig David style thing. And I made this little demo CD. I caught the train to Melbourne, went to all these different record labels around the area. There was some like in South Yarra. I went all over the place. I wasn't familiar with Melbourne, and I was just like had my Melways out or whatever.
Oh my God, I remember those days.
Yeah, and just dropping off these little demo CDs, and pretty much all of the responses were the same. It was like, oh, you don't have the look. Like, love your music, we love your voice, we love your voice. You just don't have the look. Don't have a look. Maybe 2 or 3 people said that in the industry, and I just went home, sort of tail between my legs, going, oh, maybe I'll just be a producer because I can get better and hone in on my skills, but I can't change how I look. So, well, it's not for me. And then Idol rolled around. And so it was like, sitting there, I think it was after indoor cricket or something like that. And the little commercial comes on TV, and I'm surrounded by my mates. And I think Jules was there as well at this house. And they're like, Guy, you have to do this. Jules, you should do it too. Because Jules, she
sing too?
sung. Yeah.
Wow.
We used to sing together and stuff. And she hates me telling people that. But yeah, she sings. And so we both tried out for Idol. At the time, I was like, I'm not doing that. I don't have the look, guys. Like I was like, no, I won't win this. And it's funny because even Jules reminds me, like, I was at the auditions and I'm hearing people sing. And like, it wasn't even that I was listening to. I wasn't even listening to how well people were singing, because everyone's like practicing. We're all lined up for hours, and everyone's like just almost flexing, like trying to, and they're like singing like, and I will always love you. Like, just everyone's like, you're hearing Pearl Jam and someone else. Like,
oh my God,
it was just chaotic, and it's like a vibe out. Everyone's like trying to like, if you're insecure and nervous, that kind of environment makes you freak. But I was going, because I think those words had penetrated, right? You don't have the look. Like, you don't have the look. Basically, you take that as you're ugly, or you're a bit chubby, awful, or whatever. Yeah. So I'm just looking around. I'm going, look how good looking that person is. Oh, that person's so good looking. She's hot, and he's ripped, that bloke. And so I was in the line. Wasn't even listening to like what they were singing or playing or anything. I was just like, they'll probably make it because they've got the look. it was crazy.
Roxette in your head.
No, I know. I know.
And so then you obviously went through that process, and then Dicko kind of said the same thing to you.
Yeah. And
he was a judge on Idol.
He was one of the judges. So I had Mark Holden. and
Whatever happened to that guy?
I think he's a barrister now. So he literally went away and became a solicitor. You're laughing because I know visually
so
you're imagining a solicitor doing the touchdown, right? He's really eccentric and really creative.
Good
he's
on
out
him.
there.
I just imagine a LinkedIn post like, I've just changed jobs.
I'm the touchdown guy who will now
look after you.
I'll litigate your mortgage worries. But it's look, I can't even tell you what he's. I haven't seen Mark Holden for probably over a decade, I'd say. And when I did see him, it was somewhere probably random.
And it was Marsha Hines.
I've seen her,
Yeah,
because she's on Idol. So I was there recently. Loveliest human being. Yeah. Dicko's a legend. He's a really nice guy.
I've heard
really intellectual, very articulate. My gosh, he was so great on TV. But
what happened to him? Is he still around?
Yeah, he's still around.
Yeah.
He's like managing people, and he's a very very nice human being,
Yeah.
which sounds, you match that up with the thing he was probably historically most criticised for, which is comments about Paulini's dress.
That's
and,
right. But he was kind of supposed to be the Simon Cowell of
he
that
was
show.
playing
yeah?
a role, not excusing that.
Yeah.
It was a very different time too. Whatever show you watched, those roles were very specific, and that kind of like record industry person, they would say the most foul things.
Yeah.
And it was, but you know what? Was that Paulini thing in the news for more than a day? No way. It was like, he said this, and then everyone forgot about it. Whereas you say something like that now, and that shows you we've come a long way when it comes to things like fat shaming and
Yeah, of
bullying.
course.
And it's a great thing about society is, but back then it's hard to hold people accountable with the same rule set
Yeah.
now and try and jam it back then.
Yeah.
In comedy and in anything, it doesn't make it right. But I know Dicko and I've seen him.
What was it that he said to you exactly?
He said I looked like crap. Yeah. So Marsha was like, beautiful. That was the best voice. That was just exquisite, or something. She was so lovely.
She's so nice.
She's like a hug,
Yeah.
like in her comments. And then Mark Holden said, I can't remember what Mark said, and it was, I think it was kind. It was
Yes.
technical, and then Dicko, he said, hands down the best voice we've had today, but you look like crap. So, and he was just I mean, the jacket I was wearing, I bought. I think I was in Nashville.
Yeah.
I was touring in this band that I was in at the time on this tour bus for a few weeks, and I went past this op shop and I saw this like fluffy jacket, and I was like, that looks so cool. I'm going to buy it. It was like probably $7.
Yeah.
And that's what I wore. I thought I looked like this like hot lumberjack guy, but you watch it back, I look nothing like a hot lumberjack, but in my mind, this cool vintage jacket was mint. And I don't know. It didn't affect me that much.
Yeah. That's good.
I was stoked that he said I was the best singer.
Well, that's really the most important part.
Yeah, but it's weird because I got through. So by the time his comment, I guess, was able to hurt those insecurities that have built up all the way to that audition, I sort of already got my validation because they said, oh, you're the best singer you're getting through on that. So it almost didn't matter. Dicko could have called me all the names in the world. I was like, what? I got through on my voice, just on my voice alone. So I don't know. I don't even know if I heard it that much in the moment.
Yeah. How was that Idol process? Was it all right?
It was, eye-opening. I was so sheltered. It was like I said, it was like Big Brother.
Yeah.
When we were on there. We all stayed in the same house.
Because I don't watch much TV, but I did back then. I did watch that. That was probably one of the only seasons of Idol I think I ever watched. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it honestly was phenomenal.
It was very pure, right?
And I think like any of those shows, the first one or two are like the best. It's like Big Brother. I would have no idea who's in that house or any of those people for years, but the first one or two, you can remember everyone.
I think there's something to be said for, I mean, I was on it, right? So I know how
and the Sydney
how
Opera
authentic
House,
it was.
like, epic.
Yeah, because so why do you think we were so scared and excited and genuinely like, oh my gosh, this is happening to us? Like, because when I auditioned, I wasn't even sure if it was a committed thing that it was going on one of the networks. Like, I didn't know. I was like, Channel 10 shooting like a pilot? Is this like part of a pilot? I didn't know. I didn't know the TV world. So I was like, I don't know if this will be big, if it'll be anything. I think at the time I'd like performed I was in some band and I did some star show or something as part of a band.
Yes.
And that was my only sort of real taste of TV. So people love those series, Big Brother, whatever it is, because you're genuinely watching it going, they have no idea how much this is going to like really blow up their lives. Like I went from that audition to literally weeks later having people camped out the front of my mum's house, mum and dad's house, with Go the Fro signs
Oh
and stuff.
my God.
So it was like this, you began
Yeah.
this talking about like overnight. Yeah, it was. It was overnight. And it was something I used to answer with a little bit of insecurity back in the day. But I think...
wonder, sorry.
There you
I
are.
wonder, like, knowing that, and even now, like, your success, because I know that, and you can talk to this, you came from, like, quite a religious upbringing, and that was something that you followed for a while, but now more spiritually. You must reflect and, like, go, geez, what's going on here? Like, is there something bigger at play?
Oh, all
you
the
know?
time, yeah. And I still believe in God, and
Yeah.
I would still say I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
I just think I've accepted the fact that maybe what I was told that means, and all of the things that I had heard and the rules of engagement in a church structure, how you're supposed to love, how you're supposed to, view God. Maybe I just didn't have. I guess when you grow up so intertwined in it, and you're
Yes.
involved. I was a kid, and I didn't go like, "Oh, I'm a kid. I'm going to start going to church and just see what this whole thing's about." Like we kind of grew up in church. Like my parents like always went to church, but then I reached an age and then I just didn't want to go. But then when I started going back in, it was for music. So I went and just started singing straight away. And so I was like involved. I'm part of the team, and like there's all this expectation on you. But meanwhile, I'm still at indoor cricket, swearing my head off and carrying on like an idiot. And so I learnt all these lessons in the weirdest way of what it means to be in a position of like, like where people are looking at you. So I remember I was 13 or something, maybe 14, and I went and I'd sung at this church service that morning for this conference called Planet Shakers, and then played indoor cricket that night. And I'm swearing at the umpire, carrying on, and as a kid, I had a bit of a mouth on me.
Yeah.
And then this kid comes up after cricket and he goes, "Oh, Guy, I just wanted to say, dude, like, man, like, it was awesome at worship this morning. Like, you sung so good at worship this morning." And in my mind, I'm going, "Oh, no, he's just heard me swear. He's just heard me. I hope he didn't hear me swear." And I felt so two-faced. And so, yeah, I think I realized that I need to do like everything I can to make sure, like, if I'm going to be on stage and I'm being watched, I need to really like make sure everything matches up and I'm a true, authentic person. I'm not going to get on stage and then just go and be things I was saying to the umpire, like, what a grub of a human. Like, so I think it really kind of made me lift my game a little bit just as a human being, because I was suddenly like, even though it was in a church, it still was a lesson I learned early on. But I think the biggest lesson I learned early on was when you're in church, right, and you're singing, your gift isn't for you. It's like, it's all about trying to usher people into a place where whatever's happened that week, they can forget it and they can like have peace. And I think they were the things that attracted me the most about church, is like, you get anyone. You might have drug addicts in there. You can have, that's what I saw when I read about Jesus. Like, he wasn't the bloke that said, he wasn't there judging people or even mentioning things about your sexuality. No, he was the one that like would welcome lepers and prostitutes and everyone else. And he wasn't to me, that's who I see Jesus as. So I guess then we talked about humans, and you put a whole bunch of humans in any building, and we were talking earlier about racism. Well, it's the same. Like, people expect Christians to be somehow, or Muslims or whatever religion, like you're in leadership or you're part of a congregation, like those people better have a higher set of morals. And it's not true. Like, they're everyone's human,
Of course.
and it's a gathering of humans. And I think for me, my faith journey got rocked a lot because I was young. At that point, all I did was sing for free for the church. Like, it was something I loved doing, but it wasn't my job. Like, I was working at a warehouse unloading containers, trying to pay for uni, trying to like singing was for free at church. And I felt like I'd served this church for a long time. And then suddenly I go on Idol. And then from the pulpit, it's being said, oh, Guy, Sebastian, he's like traded his call of Christ on his life for things of the world, and he's pursuing money and fame instead. That there was things that were being relayed back to me, things I'd personally heard. So I felt so rejected by that world, but it really affected internally my faith. Then there's articles where, oh, Guy's, he's a Hillsong poster boy, but at that time I hadn't even visited Hillsong. I grew up in Adelaide. There's no Hillsong there. So anything bad that might be reported on some TV thing about Hillsong, then I'm attached to that. There was some Family First or something, some Family First, like some psycho.
Oh,
like
the blondes? Or the
I don't know.
blondes?
There was something and they were like...
A cult. I think I saw...
No, they were like a political party that had really like disgusting views on like gay marriage or something.
Oh, okay.
But guys from Adelaide, and one of the leaders from that church he went to. So that's Guy Sebastian's views. So I don't know. It felt like I had all the worst of like everyone in outside of the church world, like almost hated me for being a religious person. But then everyone in the religious world hated me for not being religious enough. And I just got so like lost in that, and it made me throw the baby out with the bathwater a little bit. And then I realized, like, you grow up a little bit and you realize, like, you cannot look to people. You cannot like it's so difficult, but of course, like, it's hard when you look at just people and the humanity of people, and we all have our faults. And when those people in those positions of power let you down and you expected so much more, it's easy to throw the whole thing away. But I think I just came to a point where I can see how faith has helped me so much in certain times. Oh, there's so much. It's shaped a lot of who I am as well. And
I'm the same. So I love. What are the beliefs that you love so much that have helped you?
Well, I feel like when I read the Bible and the things without a and I should read it more, to be honest, but but for me it's always represented love and love of the right things and less love of the wrong things, you know. And I guess people just use it for whatever, you know. Some people will hide behind it and use it as a tool for their prejudice and will extract what they want from it. For me, what I extract of it is like Jesus was he was an incredible full of love prophet, full of love, full of forgiveness. Like, he said, forgive.
Oh, whilst he was on the cross when he was being killed.
I mean, Jesus was the one that welcomed, like I said before, he welcomed the perceived worst of society and made them feel valued and loved. He loved. He talked about not letting possessions, you know, it's easier for a camel to get through a keyhole. All the analogies and parables he used were beautiful. They were ways of saying, you know, let go
kind
of these
be a
things.
good human.
Exactly. And yet so much of it, I think.
You know, even the line, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like, if you take that out and just go, well, that's just beautiful. And the truth.
Yeah.
You know, why would you treat anyone less than how you would want to be treated?
Yeah, exactly. And it, you know, people of faith will always go to, like, I think, and I just said people of faith. I think ultimately, for so long, especially in the denomination that I grew up in, or if people aren't familiar with that, it's like the genre of the Christianity that I grew up in.
What was it?
Well, I don't know the exact. It's like the AOG, I guess, or the maybe it's Pentecostal.
Yes.
I don't know
Okay.
like what they actually define themselves,
Yes.
but I'd say AOG. It's very it's almost very trend based. So
Yeah.
so there's different kinds of movements. Sometimes it's like really outward, like dancing and
Oh, yeah.
like it's all sorts. And you would have seen heaps of videos
I've
of people
seen
like
it, yes.
falling
Yeah,
over
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
I've seen that.
and so it's all, it's almost always very tangible reflections of the reality of God,
Yeah.
right? And for me, that was dangerous because I remember, for example, like I sat in this place and it was about speaking in tongues,
Oh, yeah. I've
and
seen them do.
I didn't know how to do it. Like I was like, I'm not doing that unless it's a actual comes out of me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell? What's
Not
going
putting
on?
it on.
I'm not going to learn little
Yeah.
like phrases. I'm not doing. There's no way. Then I won't believe in any of it. If I'm
Yeah.
making that up, I won't believe in any of it.
Because isn't the whole idea that it's like a spirit or something coming through you, and that's why he's speaking like that?
Well,
Like
I
with
mean,
tongues? I mean, I'm Jewish, so I don't quite know.
Yeah.
But I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was almost maybe they were like, oh, the person's got the spirit, you know?
It's very much. It's so it depends what context you look at
Yeah.
it. If you look at it in the Acts,
Yes.
the book of Acts, it was like tongues of fire rained down,
Yeah.
and there's so many different interpretations even of that. So I think it was like on the day of Pentecost, and they started walking around, and people from different tribes weirdly started speaking each other's languages.
Oh, wow.
But they were languages that were foreign to their own tongue.
Yeah.
So it was like a spiritual miracle that happened on that day. Now, I'm not a theologian, so there might be details in that are completely off, but I don't claim to be an expert on that. But then you might read another, and it mentioned in a completely different chapter of the Bible, and it will there's a certain word that they use, and so it gets down to such. My point is, it gets down to such specific translations and interpretations that you have to get to a point where you go, who's right? And we're not even taking into context the actual translation of the text in its. There's so much that's involved in this, and if we get so stuck on the specifics and base our whole behavior on it, so I'm going to judge homosexuals because of this thing it says in Leviticus. I'm going to judge. I'm going to say that women can do this and not this.
Always in every
based
religion.
on this,
Yeah.
right?
It's full on.
I would say, for me, and it's a difficult thing to speak about because I know even as people are listening to this, and if people are deeply religious or there's judgment, right? And I'm not speaking from a place of expertise. I'm speaking of a place of like what's shaped me and my view to faith. I think I had to realize it's an essence, and if I get bogged down in the specifics, I'm personally missing the point. What sort of person, if God was looking down at me, what sort of person would he want me to be? Would he want me to be kind? Like, would he want me to speak to people like they're my equal or better? I just think that that's what faith should do. If it makes you be
the best version of yourself.
worse person, I reckon you're missing the point of the whole faith. And so,
I agree. I mean, I feel the same. I've done a lot of research, and I've interviewed a few near-death survivors, and Oprah just did this whole series, very interesting. So I was listening to a lot of it, a lot of famous actors who have had near-death experiences and stuff. No one says that there's hell.
yeah.
There's only this beautiful light, right? And what they all explain, and I find this so interesting, the near-death survivors, and I know no one knows for sure, but they're probably the closest thing to knowing, is that there's like a life review, right? Where you go and you experience points in your life through how the person you interacted with felt. So
Yeah.
it could have been something awful, and you will feel them, or you felt something awful, in something, but you realize why that person did it and what was going on then, and you have an understanding of everything that went on and why. And they say, like, it's only love. Like, there is only love on the other side.
Yeah.
And then, they get sucked back into their bodies. But it's so beautiful. And so I always have that funny thing with religion where they're like, you're going to hell if you do this, or, you're homosexual or something like that. I mean, how ridiculous.
Yeah.
Really.
Well,
I mean, that's,
But and that's the thing, right? And you mentioned someone's afterlife experience, right? But of course, there'd be people listening and going, it's probably something else. Like,
there's nothing.
Yeah,
a lot of people think that,
but then
which is fine.
But I think what you described in the afterlife sounds like what the most important quality is on earth, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Which is empathy. Empathy, actually being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and see what they're feeling and why they're feeling it. And like that's amplified in the afterlife. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that. Like for me, it's like, cool. Well, the problem is it's, and I spoke about speaking in tongues. I'm not saying, like, someone else who does it, I'm not saying that they're not having an experience or I'm not going to judge them. Like, I'm not going to say what you're doing is not real or you're putting on a show or whatever. Some people probably are, but then there's others that are like, they're feeling something really spiritual and they're moved. Or the people you're describing, they've seen it. Try and tell them that they haven't seen what they feel like they've seen and felt. So I think sometimes when we haven't experienced something, we're so quick to dismiss it and go, oh, please, it would be something else. Or it's just like the hospital lights were shining through your eyelids and you were like,
that's
like,
all the scientists think. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
But you just, everyone's experience is their experience.
It's their experience. Yeah. And
it's an interesting thing. And I want to talk about your new song, Maybe, because you say within that one of the lines in the song is that good things come to those who wait, which I think, it's very philosophical, but also, something that we've all heard before. And I wonder why you wanted to add that in and why this song is, so meaningful and has, I mean, all songs do, but this song has a lot of depth to it and kind of really, talks a lot about kind of things that we've touched on today.
Yeah, well, I mean, this particular song didn't require a heck of a lot of thought. It's very much a feeling song. I wrote this really quickly, and sometimes they're just. I mean, I would never think. When you think about art logically, you almost think, oh, well, there's another song I spent 2.5 years writing. And that sounds like, it wasn't every day, of course, but it took
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Jesus.
I wrote the chorus, even longer, actually.
Yeah.
If I looked it up, it's like February 2020. I only just ended up finishing it.
Do you write a few at a time?
I'll generally write like one like if only one in the same day, but I might write 10, 15 ideas.
Yes, on the go. Yeah,
Like
that's what I mean.
my voice note. There's a podcast so people can't actually physically
Yeah.
see. Like they're all different ideas.
So you say them to yourself and record them.
I have
your
to
ideas.
record them or I forget them.
Yeah.
So that's first.
Do you
of May.
sing them or is it?
Yeah, I'll put them down.
Or you
So
say
there might be stuff. It's just stuff I don't want to forget, right? So it might be a bass line.
Is that like just
So
in your bathroom or something? Because it sounds
It
like
sounds like I'm probably
unbelievable.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't like on the toilet. This is called. Yeah, so it'll be melodies, or it might be. Hang
That's
on.
the kids.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no. So this is called Nice Chords. It might not be.
Wow. I like that one.
I like that little note. So I mean, sometimes
It's
I'm
so
just
funny. I'm
playing
laughing.
something.
You've got voice notes. I've got quotes. Like the things that I think are like so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is. And then I look back and I think, what even is that?
Oh,
Do
and
you know?
so that's why.
I'm like,
have a look.
I understand what I've written.
If you have a look at some of this stuff, I call it finish, soul, and I'll even say like, please finish. There's so many that say please finish because I'm literally pleading to my future self who isn't in this moment of inspiration that'll hear it back and go, what was I was on like drugs or something. But with maybe it very much is that's art, right? You can have an artist paint something, they paint something really quick, but that's the thing that gets that's the thing that gets the message across to people, and people love that. And then they just gloss over the thing you've worked on for 3 years, and you just can never predict it. So maybe I had the idea of I actually was writing backwards, so I had the last 2 lines. I wanted to finish with they say good things come to those who wait, but why would I want good if I've got great? And so I thought, oh, that's a clever turnaround on a really like well-known,
Saying, yeah.
like phrase.
Yeah.
And so I think working backwards is a really difficult way to write sometimes, but on this occasion, it just worked, and it was really fast. I think we wrote it in 15 minutes or something. This song. Yeah, and then tracked everything you hear on the record was tracked on the day.
Jeez.
So I didn't go back in and really like I record because I wrote it. This time I wasn't in my studio. I was just down the road at a friend's house who we've been trying to connect for years and work together. Robbie Dessar. And he greets me at the door of his studio. He's like, dude, how have we not worked together? I was like, bro, it took me 10 minutes to drive here. How have we not worked together? And we sat down, wrote this song in 15 minutes. I got on his drums and recorded the drums. He was playing bass. I recorded a little bit of guitar. He recorded electric guitar.
When do you know and you go, oh, it's a winner? Do you know what I mean?
You know when I knew?
When?
I got, there was a guy that was doing a bunch of strings on my record.
Yeah.
So I sent it across to him in LA, and he sent the string. And I liked the song. I really liked the song. I thought, oh, this is great. It's a good tune. I've just given up trying to predict what is a hit or not. You never know.
Yeah.
I never knew Battle Scars would be, and like this stuff I think is a hit, and then it does nothing. I wrote this song called Candle. I was like, this is dope. This is one of my favorite songs, Candle, it was called. It literally, I think, is the worst performing song I've ever released in my life.
Yeah.
But, this song for me became like, I need to release this as a single when I got the strings back. The strings on that tune are what made it like go from 60 to 100. Like it was, it just made a massive difference. Sometimes it can just be an element like that just breathes energy and life into a song. The arrangement is just killer. It sort of, just put the little icing on the song.
How good. I wonder for you, like now it's been quite a while since that Idol time, and you've been in the music industry for a long period of time and entertainment. How have you found that? Like because it has its highs and its lows, and it can be really tough. I wonder, how it's been.
Amazing. The best ever. I mean, who can get to 23 years later and like, if I wanted to, I can find some things to maybe whinge about.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not whinging. It's just like there's highs and lows, but I mean, it's corny. Of course I pinch myself. Like, it's crazy that I'm still doing this. It's crazy that it's my full-time job. I get to literally do the thing I love. And I get to travel and meet people who have listened to my music in strange places in the world that I have never even heard of, that I end up going to and visiting or getting letters from, or people. It's incredible. And I would say Idol was like, there's been so many people that would go on that and then try and distance themselves. Like I'll never be too cool for that show, or that show is what got me to position, and what a beautiful exchange. Like, people come up to me and they say still to this day, "Oh man, I voted for you," and what they don't understand is how emotional that makes me still to this day. I'm not weird to like break into tears every time they say it to me, but it hits the same
costs money,
spot.
doesn't it, to vote as well?
A complete stranger
Yeah.
looked at me on a TV show and went, and this is a long time ago, so
Yeah.
think about the inflationary value
Totally.
of this commitment. 55 cents, I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend my own money for this random person I've never met before, but he seems nice and I like his voice. I want him to achieve his dreams. Like, I like him. I'm going to vote for him. Never met them. They're just like want me to do well in life. Like,
Amazing.
what an
Yeah.
incredible way to enter the industry as an exchange of love for art, right? It's this, for me, it put not this unhealthy pressure, it put this like healthy pressure of do not screw this up. And like a lot of people, they believed in you, people that didn't know you, just do your best.
I think that's
Don't mess it up, do your best.
beautiful.
Yeah.
What's some of the best advice that you have ever been given?
Oh, it's such a hard question to answer. Advice is funny, and it's all like it's always your needs change. So it depends on the chapter of the life,
Yes.
right? You're going through this one
Totally.
thing, and you mentioned Mel Robbins, right? And you're like,
Let them.
let them is the best advice I ever. I think overall, like, just you can't please everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that's really broad, but for me, as a proper empath and as someone
Yeah.
who just like I'm very sensitive and
Yeah.
and,
I'm the same.
deep.
Whereas something's going on, I'd like feel the person's
Yeah.
emotions, which makes you so
Yeah.
good at what you do, but also
Yeah.
it can be a bit full on.
It can be your
times.
worst
Yeah.
enemy because you like just don't understand
Yeah.
like how someone who doesn't know you or read something or seen something
Could do something like that. Yeah.
hate you. They just hate you, and
Yeah.
you're like. And normally, like, I envy people who are like, oh, who cares? Water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
Like, my best mate's like that. He's like, mate, what are they doing with their lives? Like he's like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but why don't they know me? Like,
What did I do to them? They don't even know me.
I don't do anything to them. So it can be your worst enemy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say like I could say a bunch of things, and you've probably had some really wise guests roll out some great
No.
philosophy, but you just can't. You
Yeah.
can't please everybody.
I think that's very wise.
Well, I'll give it another branch.
Yeah.
I think we so often neglect the community that we have around us that love us. And we spend more energy on the people that hate us. And I learnt that
That's so
lesson really
true.
early on because I responded to a troll.
What happened?
This is early on.
Yeah.
And you still fall into that trap
Yeah.
of responding. But
What did they write?
so I can't even remember.
Yeah.
It was something horrible. And it was like, oh man, like screw you don't even know me, man. Like blah blah blah. And then a fan wrote to me and she said, Guy, I've written you well over 100 messages on here and like saying I love you, I support you, I've been to all your shows. Like you've never responded to me. This person doesn't even follow you. Like says one sweeping random nasty thing about you and gets a comment back.
That is amazing that she kind of taught you that.
Yeah. And I burst into tears reading that. I was younger.
I love hearing this. This
I
is just
just-
good advice.
I burst into tears and I was like, oh my gosh, I've just scanned. Oh, I love you. You're great. Oh, I love that song. You're fantastic. You suck. What? I don't suck.
Yeah.
Like, what? What is wrong with us?
Yeah.
And so we could scan across and take for granted the people that are actually just in our corner, even in our just normal lives. Forget social media, just people who are kind to us. But we're so, I guess there's reasons of insecurity and other things. But yeah, you cannot please everyone, and just sink the time into the
Yeah,
people that
that's
deserve
beautiful.
it.
Do you have a favourite prayer?
Not really. No, I guess there's certain religions that have like actual set prayers
Yeah.
and stuff, but
Or like, sometimes spiritually people might have some sort of thing, but you don't have?
no, No, not really.
Yeah.
No, I
That's
wish
all
I had
right.
a good answer for that, but I don't. I don't think so. I think prayer, like, yeah, it's always different for me. And you know, I've been saying the odd prayer with the boys as I put them to bed
What
and
do you
stuff like
say?
that. Oh, it's mainly about gratefulness, our prayers, yeah.
That's beautiful.
And to keep certain people safe. And, you know, there's some sickness and stuff happening at the moment and within the family. So praying for our loved ones. And I need to do it more. We don't do it as often as I probably should. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think prayer for me, it's
like thank you kind of thing.
it's thank you. But I felt very guilty recently when I mentioned the court stuff
Yeah.
before. I remember I did my little escape to the toilet.
Yeah, in court.
I was sitting there, I burst
can't
into
believe you
tears.
didn't go back.
Yeah. So I've burst into tears because I just couldn't handle there was this like pressure and I just was shaking. I couldn't stop shaking and I had to go to the toilet because I couldn't drink because every time I'd pick up the glass, I'd do this. Like I would just shake the glass and I was so embarrassed that I was just, this was only just for the first day. And then I kind of like absorbed what this whole thing was about and I was better. But I remember this time I was shaking and I was sat in the toilet and I prayed and it had been ages.
What did you pray?
I prayed for God to help me stop shaking. I was like,
I
can
thought
you
you were
just...
going to say you prayed for an outcome.
No. I was so in that moment. God, just help me, be with me, like help, just help me. And this is why I'm saying it's so personal, right? And that you can't really dismiss someone's reality. I genuinely felt like two angels were like not informed that I could see or anything.
I believe this. Yeah.
I just stopped shaking. And I felt this like warm peace, and I just got up and just walked back out there, and it was weird. I was like, and then I felt guilty because
That's beautiful,
I'm like,
though.
oh, so like if I call myself a Christian and I've just prayed to you when I'm at rock bottom, what sort of person am I? Like, I felt real guilty,
No.
but I don't know. I think it's always like we're so quick to judge. Like
I've had similar experiences when I've been on a plane and gotten really I'd claustrophobic, and I'd say, please, praying, make my heart beat a lot slower.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I feel the same exactly like you. Like I feel that something has come over me and I'm like, wow, like I feel fine.
Yeah.
You know?
And
how did you deal with that betrayal?
I don't think I have.
Yeah.
I don't think I have. And it's still ongoing. So I think we're going back to court in a few weeks. So that'll be fun.
Well, you know that you've got the higher powers looking after you. Yeah. Just call on them. And our final question, what is a life of greatness to you?
Life of greatness. I'm going to take my time to answer this. This seems too simple, but I'm just going to say doing what you love with people you love.
That's not simple. That's beautiful. And it's also the truth. Like, I'm a true believer that it is love that is, the dominant and most powerful force that we have.
And there's no point being successful alone. So I think doing what I love with people I love. Like if one of those things like eradicates the other, I haven't done it properly. Like I want to be surrounded by. I've got beautiful people in my life. I'm very lucky. I've got a beautiful wife, best friend, who I've known since I was 12. I've got a couple of beautiful boys, amazing brothers and family, and I'm very, very lucky. So it's going good. It's going good so far. So I'll keep plodding away.
Bye, Sebastian. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. From someone that did watch one thing of Idol many years ago, you were the one that I watched. Yeah. And when you look at Australian music and you think about the amazing people that have shown the country in such a beautiful way but have given so much through their talent, then that is you. You are the epitome of that. You are honestly a good person, heart of gold, and you have beautiful philosophies and beautiful music. There's not many people when I say to my kids who I'm interviewing that they actually know. So
Oh, that's
you
a
were
good
one,
thing. Oh,
which is
thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so
They're
much.
very kind words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you.